Hey everybody, it's your girl Taylor from Got You Aesthetics, and today I thought I'd do a video on kind of going over some of my past sets that I've done while I was a baby in the aesthetics and nail art kind of field, so let's go. So I'm going to have the photo that I'm looking at up on the screen as well, so that you guys can kind of look over what I am talking about. So the first nail enhancement of sorts that we're doing today is actually a shellac manicure, and this little cute manicure went on my sister's beautiful hands. So one thing that I can definitely notice about the shellac manicure is the cuticle work is not giving. So as you can see, it's looking crusty around the edges. That's also probably from doing some cleanup, but it is quite crusty around the edges. So when you're doing shellac or a nail, gel polish shellac, or a nail enhancement like a, what's it called? Like a nail extension sort of nail enhancement, even with just air dry polish, you really want to clean up the stuck on cuticle on the nail bed to help with that crusty look, so that you can have a nice crisp line around your polish. So it looks like, you know, when you see advertisements for nails and stuff like that, or people hand modeling, you don't want crusty little cuticle ruining your perfect border of sorts. So I see that. I'm seeing that there's an air bubble in one of the fingers. So how you can fix that when you are doing a shellac, gel polish, or hard gel, soft gel, is that you take some sort of implement. You can even use a really fine daughter tool, toothpick, little tiny orange wood stick, or a wooden curette of sorts. And then you dip it in isopropyl alcohol, and then you tap the air bubble. The air bubble will dissipate. Sometimes you might want to use your brush to kind of stroke over where it was, so that you can make sure that there's not going to be any little missing part of the polish. The paw prints, super cute. That was an acrylic pour method. I don't see any issue with that aspect, but I definitely say the crustiness of the cuticles, not getting all that off, kind of took away from it. Also the cleanup, because I'm pretty sure back then I was kind of having a hard time with cleanup, but as well with that time is that if you have crusty cuticles around the edges, your polish isn't gonna look as good. So that's something we can talk about for that first set. Now, the next set I'm going on to is one that I did in school. So, it's not horrible, but it's not good, and I'm gonna tell you why. So, you can look up the borders. They're not completely like the beautiful kind of crescent moon kind of look. The cleanup of the incandescent chrome, very lacking. The one nail, I can tell I kind of overfiled on the one side, so that where her natural nail is, it's kind of thinner than it should be, and it's quite noticeable. You'll notice people talking about the notch in the nail, by the nail. You can see that in this set. The dots are a force to be reckoned with. I'm not too sure why it had to be so thick. Maybe it's just I wasn't used to like the product. Definitely not used to the product yet. But sometimes the product will kind of seep after application. If your daughter tool has too much product on it, it can also do that, and it'll also give it more of a 3D effect, which is not always appreciated. The acrylic pour on these lines are not crisp, they're thick. That's also not that great. Around the one edge of the chrome powder, I can tell that the acrylic's not completely the crescent moon around all the cuticle and the sidewall area. There is a notch there. You can also tell that it's kind of lumpy in some nails. You can see it if you zoom in close, that it is definitely a little bit lumpy. So how you can tell about how refined your nail is you definitely want to zoom in. Matte top coat is also very unforgiving for that aspect as well. If you feel like your nails might be in the lumpy kind, try doing a set with matte top coat and looking at it, and then that will just show you kind of what to work around. Matte top coat is also a great one to be using for when you're practicing your shellac manicures, just because then that kind of also shows you where the color is lacking. You will really notice the unevenness, the bulging of your polish application, so that you can find ways to make it more cohesive and less lumpy, because even a shellac manicure can be lump central done improperly. And now shout out to my sister, because my sister and my cousin, they have always been awesome hand models for me. We're going on to, so this is supposed to be a coffin. One thing that you really notice in this set is that all the coffins are not the same. Some of them are wider, some of them are barely even a coffin at all, and then some of them are overly a coffin, so like way too tapered, or at least if you're gonna make them all that tapered, make them all cohesively tapered. Don't just be lazy with one hand and leave the other hand kind of separately. The nail art, super cute though. Always been really into the nail art, so that's good. Cuticle work, looking really good on this set compared to when I did her shellac manicure with that crustiness, so that is good. But yeah, they're definitely not cohesive in the shape aspect, so that's something you want to look out for when you're starting off doing nails as well, is that all of your shapes are cohesive. Now, we're going on to, I think this was my first set I've ever done on anyone in school. So this one is definitely giving gumball nails. It's supposed to be almond, I believe. It's at least giving almond, but like the bulginess is definitely taking away from the cool kind of lava lamp or like blood drip weird kind of look. One thing to be noticing that when you're doing nails is that to make it not look like that, don't apply that much. When you first start doing nails, you'll normally be applying way too much, and that's totally normal. Everyone goes through that stage. You're either applying way too much, or at one point you're applying way too little. So I find that if you keep a picture to like have a reference, then at least that's something to remind you that like mine's not looking like that. It needs more work, instead of just like doing it off the top of your head and you're not like fully confident in your shapes or in your nail thickness. So like even today, I will still sometimes have a photo of the shape up just so that like it'll be faster and not just using my internal memory for descriptions. So with the bulging aspect, obviously you want to go over with the Dremel to like thin it out. And then one big thing too is that on the sides of your nails here and here, after you do your dremeling, you want to make sure you're taking the file and kind of filing the sides like that. You can also use kind of swiping motions like so, and that will help around here to there. But you want to be doing this. So what that does is that it gives the natural nail curve, so it's a little bit higher here, and then it comes down to your sidewalls being kind of thinner there. So that gives your nail a natural look. Also filing from the tip backwards, because what is it, the pinky nail? The one pinky nail is definitely like, what is going on? It's really bulging at the tip, and there's not as much product at the cuticle area. So then that's not good either, because that could also possibly, if they break their nail, it's gonna definitely not be at the right spot for a break. So you'd prefer that if your nail breaks, it breaks more at the tip. You don't want it to be breaking higher, because then that can like cause obviously blood and injury, and it can like damage the nail. So that's something to keep in mind. So now we're going to the next set, and now I'm going to shout out Robin because she is also one of my very helpful hand models when I was in school. we were doing oval. Not really that oval. It's a little too tapered to be oval, to be exact. But it is not tapered enough to be something else. So it was definitely an oval, but just not executed well. The line work actually isn't too bad for like when you just first start off. Like at least it's not all thick. Some of it's a little bit less good than the other, but overall in that aspect, that was pretty good. I remember this taking me so long to do though. Now this would not take that long. It'd probably be like 15 minutes a hand tops, because it's like these designs, especially the line ones, it'd be like a minute or two to add the barbed wire, like, you know what I mean? So like maximum 15 minutes a hand, but then that took a long time, probably like 10 minutes a nail. But you know, progress, right? I'm gonna go zoom into this one thumb, and this is another issue that I had when I first started out, and I feel some other girls probably have the same issue, is that you're not applying the acrylic far enough down to the side, so now you're getting these weird kind of textures right at the base, like right here. Instead of it being flush, you'll get some textures. Sometimes you will get that here and there anyway, but like it was on all the nails at the time. So when you're applying, you want to make sure that the acrylic's getting all the way down to the side, and that you are filing that nicely as well, so that there's no lumps or anything, so that you won't see any textures down there after the polish. And like, I don't know, did we do black underneath her nails at some point? Because there's also like some black border, so I don't know if I use like a black acrylic. Maybe. Let's look. Cuticle work is okay. It could have been like touched up around the edges with the one bit that I like to use today. That bit would be, I'm pretty sure it's like a dome bit or something like that. I need to get the real name so I can help you guys, but after I do the cuticle work and after I already etched the nail, I will go over with this bit, and that will help take off the little tiny bit of cuticle left, and also buff out the cuticle so that there's less chance of getting the hangnails and stuff after. But it's also up to the client to use cuticle oil to also help prevent that as well. And then this set, I will honestly say too, it is a little lumpy. If you zoom in, I don't know if I'm going to be able to zoom in with this new way I'm going to try to do this video, but there's definitely some lumps here and there. It's not cohesively smooth. Even around some of the cuticle area, it's not like a perfect crescent moon like I talked about before. They are kind of crusty, showing that I'm not taking off all the cuticle around that area. So now I'm getting on to one of my favorite sets that I did, and it was I actually just posted the video last week. So this one was for a music festival that's local in Winnipeg. It's called Summer of Sound, and I think that year it was like Alice in Wonderland theme. So that is why the Alice in Wonderland Cheshire Cat vibes. And then now I'm realizing when I did the recreation, I didn't give that cute little gem on his tooth to make him all G'd out, but that's something good to note. And I'm also realizing I didn't use an incandescent powder for that heart design when I did the final look. But now let's get into it and what's wrong with it. So for this nail length, they are thick. So when you're doing like a short to medium length nail, you do not need as much product because there is less stress that can happen to the nail, and you're not whacking it on as many things. It is shorter, it doesn't need to be that thick. Also with the bulging aspect, to make sure that you're filing, because like when I use the Dremel, because I start off with Dremel, finish with the file, I will go around all the sidewalls and the cuticle area and make sure that is like cohesively straight and like down to the sidewalls and not bulging outwards. And I'll go upward and then I'll finish it with the file to make sure that's not bulging, that it's tapering to the center. so that it has that natural look. So that's one thing. The cuticle work again is coming up. So the pushing is happening, the nipping is happening, but the Russian style is not. Or maybe I was doing Russian at the time, but I was so uncomfortable doing it, I wasn't doing it to its full potential. If you're uncomfortable using the Dremel and doing Russian style cuticle work, you can also just use an etching block, or you can use a nail file and just go around the cuticle and the sidewalls and get all that kind of like crusty gunk off. And then that will help your nail enhancement stick, and it'll also make it look a lot more clean. I remember the set taking forever. Yeah, so the line work, obviously not looking too clean. The ombre, I think I did an acrylic ombre when I did this set, and that is also not looking that clean as well. If you want tips on ombres, I have a couple videos that I like to show how to do the ombre, so you can feel free to go back to that. I don't feel like I need to explain it today. The Cheshire Cats are definitely not the same, and they're looking kind of bugged out, cracked out, but I think that kind of goes with like going to an electronic music festival and people partaking in some party favors of sorts. Yeah, the chrome isolation, definitely not chrome isolation. I was just mixing base coat with chrome for the application. I skipped out on like my sample nails. I did black and then I put the chrome on these nails. I didn't start off with black because I'm guessing that I was taking too much time when I was practicing, so I was like, let's just skip the black and go without it. The chrome looks better applied on black, and it would have been a lot faster doing the black and the chrome isolation as well. Weirdly enough, the symbols look, well, one is definitely smaller than the rest, but like otherwise for the sizes they're looking pretty cohesive. But yeah, they're not looking nice with the line work. Back to the character work, a way that you can make that and the calligraphy kind of all the same size is that at least wherever you're going to be doing your character, you're making sure that you draw with a little bit of pencil where he's going to be inserted, match it to both fingers, and then insert it inside. And especially if you're doing two of the same character, having an idea or a layout of what you're doing and then following through with applying it to both will also help with it being cohesive. So I was going to do a couple more from my stock from my Barbie years, but I'm feeling like it's kind of getting repetitive more or less of the time. The things you need to be focusing on is A, the shape, making sure it's cohesive from finger to finger to finger. Next, cleaning around the cuticle area so that there's no crusties. You will know if there's crusties because it looks crusty. If you're not comfortable doing Russian, just use the file, the fine side of the file, and then, or an etching block. And then as well with the shaping, you want to make sure that it's not bulging, so taking a bit and going around the edges to make sure that you have a straight line on both sides, and then making sure that it is correct on making sure that it's correct with like how it looks from the side. When you're doing nails, look at it from the front, look at it from the side. I even, after I do all my shaping and filing, I'll flip it over, like I'll flip the client's hand over, and I'll just make sure A, the squares are square in, if it's a square in that instance, and B, if you're looking at it from the side and you have a light coming down, you'll also see if you need to file more so that it's tapering inward to the point correctly. Another tip would be always, like whenever you're giving anyone a fill, nails always grow downwards. So that can make a nail thicker over time as well. So you want to make sure that this is flat, unless they're doing curved nails, I guess that's an exception. But if you're doing flat top, I personally like the flat top C curve nails. I always make sure I file so that's a straight line coming outward, it's not going downward. And then if you're doing a few fills and this is starting to get thicker, you take your bit and you go inside there to touch that up. I hope this video kind of helped and is a great way for you to look back on your own work, track your progress, and remind yourself on things, or maybe find things that you didn't know were an issue, or help save time because you're coming up with new creative ways to fix problems. So I hope you guys enjoyed. Like if you had a good time. Comment on some of your good times, bad times when you first started doing nails, and subscribe if you want to see more. Okay, bye guys.